Hey everybody, this is Rich and you're with South Florida Beekeeping with Rich. Hope everybody had a good holiday season. Hope everybody got lots of cool new bee shirts for Christmas. I got quite a few. It's like, what do you get the guy who has everything he wants? I know, a t-shirt. So I got plenty of cool new t-shirts you'll see over the next few months. This video is things that just are not worth having their own video for. I've seen people on YouTube who will take something that, tell me what you got to tell me, and you could do it in under 2 minutes, and they make a 15-minute video out of it, and that drives me nuts. And I've got all kinds of tips and things that's like, nah, that's not worth a video on its own. Nah, that's not worth a video on its own. But it's like, you know what? There's so many of them that I'm just going to do a compilation of cool little tips and tricks of various sorts right now. So let's get into it. Tip number one, this one comes from Rusty Burlow of Honeybee Suite, is have a good quality butterfly net to retrieve bees that have followed you in, into the house or into your screen room, or even if it's just overly aggressive scout bees or guard bees that are binging you when you're 30 feet away from the hives. Because most of the time that's just one or two bees. And if you're approaching the hive and you're starting to get dinged, well, just grab the net, catch the couple of bees that are doing that. There's the genetics of could be 20 different daddies in that hive. And some of them just have meaner offspring than others. And if you can catch the couple of them that are being bad, the rest of them aren't going to follow suit. They're going, if they see these other ones binging you, they're going to go, oh yeah, we're supposed to be doing that. But if they're not there binging you, you're fine. So let me go release these real quick. I'll be right back. Okay. So there we are. So tip number one, have a good, spend the $17 or whatever, get a good quality butterfly net. So tip number two. Now, beetle traps, pretty useless down here with our Africanized bees, because the first thing they do is they propolis over all the openings. I've yet to open one of these and find a beetle in it. But what they do work real well for, I used to just buy, 4 packs, 5 packs, however they came, of different ant traps, disposable ant traps. And I would put one of those up inside my feeder shim up on top. Yeah, it gets expensive. These things are going up in price a lot. And I had all these sitting around doing nothing. And one day it occurred to me that all you got to do is take your ant bait, squirt it in there like that, and close it up. And boom, you have yourself a reusable ant trap. And they seem to be working just fine. Now, this stuff, Drax, happens to come from a pest control supply company, because there's a lot of stuff you can buy at a pest control supply company that doesn't require a license to buy. Just as a tip, it's just better stuff. But this is the kind of thing that you can get at Home Depot to do the same purpose. They probably have 2 or 3 different brands. One of the arguments for buying the disposable traps is that I try to get a different chemical each time, but I don't think that much matters. But quick tip, just not
easy to empty.
Oh yeah, my wife just asked if they're easy to empty. Well, certainly. Well, you're not emptying the bugs out of them, because ants are going to go in there, eat, and leave. But after this dries up, usually it's just a little flick of the hive tool, and the little chunk of poison falls on the ground, and you're ready to clean it back up. Either way, though, even if you have to scrape it, it's still easy to clean up and reuse. They're endlessly reusable until the plastic deteriorates. So that was tip number one. Tip number two.
That was tip number 2.
That's tip number 2. Oh, that's right. That was tip number 2. Next tip. Okay, I'm sure everybody knows that this is one of the best fuels out there. Cardboard or rough coarse paper egg cartons. But tearing these up is a little tough. And I don't think a lot of people realize that if you just stomp on them like this, all right, you now have something that is really easy to tear up. I mean, if you haven't torn these up, then you're not getting this. But if you've torn up your egg cartons when they were fully expanded, try this. It's so much easier. And for those people who say, oh, you know what? All I ever put in my smoker is rolled up cardboard. Well, if you crush them like this, whether it be this part or whether it be this part, you imagine how good this is as smoker fuel when you roll it this way. Just stomp on them. Easy tip. Not worth a video, but something I wanted to get out there to you. Okay. Not worth its own video, but it's worth mentioning. Remember the rubber bands I did a video on? If you didn't, go back and look at it. We'll put a link in there. You know, adjustable to size depending upon what you're doing with it. Well, I'd mentioned that in midsummer, they're really good to put on. Who knows how many takes this is going to take? Because this one is maybe a little tight for this particular purpose. There we go. In midsummer, sometimes if I think the heat is beating too much on the side of a hive, I would put these in for shade, and that's what we mentioned in a video that we did on them. But didn't mention the other side of that. When the cold temperatures were coming here in December, this one is cut to size for that. So my hives face south. So the back of my hive is north and west. And putting these here north and west keeps a little extra draft because I use screen bottom boards, and even with the inserts in, there's still a little bit of draft, but if you put these on here like this, then it prevents the draft. Just another use for those rubber bands that I find so useful. I'm always grabbing them for something or other. So again, not worth a video, but worth mentioning. Moringa. Again, this is South Florida, so we have moringa. Notice I didn't say moringa tree. I'm a little fussy about that. Moringa may go 30 feet tall. It may look like a tree, but it's really not a tree. I refuse to call it a tree. But if you have a moringa plant, a moringa shrub, a moringa herb, literally, the pods of the moringa split open, and when they are dry, they absorb water like nobody's business. But when you take them out of nature and you put them someplace where they can get dry, moringa is a great smoker fuel. It's a fast smoker fuel, I'll grant you, but when you take a whole bunch of this and you pack it into a smoker, it lights easily, it lights well, it's a cool smoke. And it's a little more acrid than I like for the most part, but I gotta tell you, it makes a good fast start to your smoker. Pack a whole bunch of that in there. It's only going to last 30, 40 minutes, but most of the time you're not in. Pardon?
It'll last 30 or 40 minutes?
At most.
Okay.
No, I've said packed in there. No, those will be burned out here in a couple of minutes. But if you pack that whole thing tight with moringa and you've lit from the bottom, you can get a good 40-minute burn out of it. Just like this isn't worth it. Moringa, it's good if you happen to have one. You should have one in your yard because moringa's great bee food. It flowers almost constantly. I mean, it'll flower for 4 weeks, lay off for 2 weeks, and flower again, and it does that all year long. So it's also making pods year long, and those pods are falling on the ground year round. So it's a constant source. Okay.
I think that's it.
Yep. There was something else that I was going to do, but my wife talked me into making its own video, so we'll leave that to its own video later on. So this is just a few little tips, not worth a video on their own, but things worth knowing in South Florida. Now I notice that I have viewers in North Carolina. Well, you're not going to find a moringa tree anywhere in North Carolina.
They might find their own.
Yeah, but around here, if you don't have one and you want one, just come see me, because the seeds sprout all out there in the yard, so you can go out and dig all of them up you want. But look at the great smoke that stuff makes.
And how can they reach you?
Well, if you're in South Florida, you can probably figure out how to reach me. If you're somewhere else, yeah, there's beekeepingwithRich@gmail.com, or you can just leave comments on the YouTube notes and such. If you have a few other little tips like this that you do that aren't worth a video, but you want to share, and if it's something we haven't already talked about, hey, maybe I'll steal your idea and share it too. So, at any rate, this has been Rich, and you're with South Florida Beekeeping with Rich. And have a great day.